What's up, everybody? James Duggan here at E3 2018. Joining me is Andrew Goldfarb, who I'm very envious of. He got a behind closed doors look at Ghost of Tsushima, which we saw at Sony's press conference. So you said something before we started rolling that was really interesting to me. What we saw was maybe not what we thought it was, like maybe a main mission. You think it's more of a side mission. Can you kind of contextualize what we saw from the Sony press conference?
Yeah, so we saw the demo played by Sucker Punch behind closed doors. We didn't go hands-on with it, but we got to see them play through that same area and that same kind of mission. And they told us that is a side quest. So that isn't part of the main story. That's not spoiling anything. Matsuno, the character that you kind of meet and that betrays you in that demo, is not actually a major player necessarily, at least not in the context of the story of that mission.
Wow. So, I mean, that's remarkable because it looked so built out and like something that would have this very punchy narrative impact. So what is this game? Is this linear RPG? Is it more open world? What's going on?
Yeah, so they told us it is like an open world sandbox game, kind of what you would expect from Sucker Punch, but much bigger. They said it's much bigger than the Infamous games, which were like a 15-hour campaign. This sounds like it's going to be a much bigger open world experience. You know, the sandbox thing you'd expect with side missions, with main missions, that kind of stuff. But also, we saw them riding around the open world a little bit on horseback. And we also saw kind of how a little bit of the traversal works. Even though it's a samurai game, even though they're going for painstaking accuracy, there is cool stuff like you have a grappling hook and you have like the ability to still, like basically Jin, the character you play as, he's a samurai through and through, but because the situation he's in the Mongol invasion, he has realized he kind of needs to be more than that. He kind of needs to go beyond his samurai training to stay alive.
Great. Speak to me about the combat. What are we seeing there?
We saw a big group combat session, the same one that we saw in the press conference, but this one was pretty cool because they kind of entered photo mode, so they could basically freeze time and show us what was happening in much more specific detail. And it is really cool how well thought through all of his movements are. Like, it's very like deliberate strikes with the katana. They said without saying, they very heavily hinted that you will probably play around with other weapons in this game, but for now they're really focusing on the katana and what you could do with it. And man, it was really interesting seeing the duel at the very end, which did feel almost like a mini boss, like a boss fight.
Yeah, it felt a little bit different in terms of what we'd expect from the combat. It felt much more like, okay, not utilizing a different moveset, but certainly this enemy is not behaving like the ones that we saw before.
It's like one tougher opponent.
Special enemies like that and bosses. Can we expect that kind of thing?
It's what it seemed like, and again, like we still only saw that same mission, so we haven't seen. They're really keeping the story itself under tight wraps, but it does seem like you'll see a lot of that. Like obviously you'll fight kind of those big groups of grunts and kind of the no-name enemies, and then it does seem like that dual encounter type thing is sort of the equivalent of like the heavy or like sort of a more like bespoke, tougher enemy.
Is there anything else you want to talk about that really stood out to you?
I love the story behind the name. You know, they're telling their own story that they have created, but it's very much set in the actual, real, historical Mongol invasion. And the Mongols landed on this small island called Tsushima, and they call him the Ghost of Tsushima because there are thousands of them against a few dozen samurai, and they can't kill this guy. He is nearly supernatural levels of being able to take them all down, and they start calling him the Ghost of Tsushima in that he seems almost supernatural. But they did confirm it is a very grounded game. You're not going to get fireballs and you're not going to fight scary dragons or anything. Like, they are keeping it realistic and grounded, which is really, really cool.
You sound excited. I'm excited. I hope you're excited for all things Ghost of Tsushima as well as E3 2018. Keep it right here on IGN.